to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. It's a really crisp, chilly winter's morning here on the Gold Coast, and I'm not the favourite of winter. I much prefer the sunshine and summer and less clothes. But anyway, we can't have it all year round. We've got to have some changing of the seasons because it's important for our soul too that we have change in our lives. And I think sometimes we get so complacent with that we sort of look about things and we whinge and moan and say, oh, I don't like this and I don't like that. And yes, and I'm not a fan of winter. But at the same time, I appreciate that it's important because without changes or seasons in our lives, then our lives wouldn't progress, that our lives wouldn't move forward. So it is an important thing to know just even the changing of the weather has some symbolic emphasis on our lives. It's just showing us that life is marching by, time is, getting away from us, and we need to make the most of every single day that we've got here on earth because we never know when it's our last. So anyway, let's move on to a more positive topic now, and it's this week's Simply Tarot card is the Ace of Cups. Now, the Ace of Cups is a beautiful card because it's the card of security. Now, I suppose that's an ambiguous word. It's what does security mean to you? Some people it's financial security, some people it's emotional security. For some people it's the security of knowing your job's secure or that you're in a secure relationship or your family are happy and secure. Security means many things to many people. So whatever it means personally for you, take that as your message for the week that you've got security. And also we've got the offer of a helping hand. Now, I'm sure there's been many times in your life when you've been in a crisis or been in a situation where it's been good that somebody's come along out of nowhere and just given you that helping hand, or the offer of the helping hand. And I know there's been many times in my life where somebody's just come out of the blue and just done something for me or made the situation a little bit easier. And you're very grateful for that, you hope one day that you can return the favour. And it's not always about returning the favour. It's about being humble and about being grateful for somebody that stepped up to the mark that you didn't ask, that's just come along and given you a helping hand in whatever the situation may be. And sometimes it's the smallest gesture that means the most. And I think we all need to get back to that, looking out for our fellow man and woman, and making, somebody else's day a little bit brighter, just, letting somebody else in the supermarket queue, offering to carry somebody's groceries to the car, just a smile, even a conversation can be that helping hand to someone else that really, really makes their day. So let's make a pact this week that we're all going to do something nice for someone else each and every single day for the next 7 days and see how we feel after that. I think it's going to really sort of uplift your soul as well. So astrologically, yes, it's another big week. I've been seem to be saying that for quite some time now. So let's say happy birthday to all the Geminis. We're well into the Gemini time of the year. And that's the time of the year, even if you're not a Gemini, it's a time of change, of excitement, of wanting to get out and explore your local environment. It's sort of like we've all got ants in our pants. We're sort of a little bit restless at this time of the year. And that's a good thing because that's what the Gemini energy is supposed to do, is supposed to get you out of your comfort zone, make you a little bit restless, make you explore your local environment and sort of just, maybe look at your life like a slideshow, let it go through really, really quickly and sort of see where maybe you need to make some changes. What do you need to adjust? Because we're roughly halfway through the year. We're roughly halfway through the year from when we all made those famous New Year's resolutions of what we were going to change or what we were going to achieve in 2024. So now's the time to sort of take a little bit of stock of that and reset. Okay, so we have Jupiter, the planet of expansion, opportunity, and luck, is well into its 12-month transit, which is what we use in astrological terms for the planet's movement. It's transit through Gemini, but Jupiter is also holding hands or conjunct Mercury. Now, Mercury is the planet of opportunity, is the planet of communication and how we view the world. So when we've got Jupiter here, which is the planet of expansion and opportunity, Jupiter can sometimes exaggerate things or make things seem larger than life than what they really are. So we need to be very, very careful here if we're going to have any sort of serious conversation, or any conversation for that matter, that we stick to the facts, that we don't embellish it, we don't make the story sound bigger and better than it was, unless, of course, it is a fishing story and that fish really was 3 feet long instead of 3 inches. And that's a different sort of embellishment. But I'm talking about if it's something that's important, something that you need to discuss with an authority or really get your message across, make sure that you're clear, you're concise, You're not embellishing it. You're sticking to the facts, but also make sure that you're sticking on topic too, because with Gemini energy here, we can tend to dart from one thing to another with just headlines or the shorthand version, or leaving out some very important details that need to be discussed or shared at the same time. And then we go off onto another tangent, and then we slip back to this one and back onto something else. And it can make it a little bit difficult for the other person to follow, particularly if it is a conversation of serious nature and things need to be very clear and very concise. If you're darting from one topic to another and jumping all over the place, yes, you might be able to follow it, but you've got to consider the other person may not be able to. On the flip side of this, it's absolutely an amazing time for writers, anybody that's songwriting, writing, that needs an imagination, that might be writing a book or writing a novel. The ideas are just going to flow, and it's going to be sort of so hard to try and harness them all. Can I suggest you have your cell phone there and get ready to record your brain waves as they come in, and then you can go back and refer to them later and then, pad them out or create the story around it. But at least you've got those headlines down of when the creative juices were flowing. So, of course, we have the sun in Gemini. We have the sun also conjunct or holding hands Venus, the planet of love and affection. Now, Venus is not only where we look for relationships in a chart, but it's where we also look for the things that we love to do. So when I'm talking about the Gemini energy, this is going to flow through to not just Geminis, Libras, and Aquarians, the opposite side of Sagittarius as well, but then it'll filter down and become a lot more watered down to the other remaining signs. So if you're somebody that is seeking love, and I've just explained to you which signs it's going to affect the strongest, then make sure that you get out in your local environment, you go to places that maybe you don't normally go to, be a little bit like a butterfly. Flick from one situation to another. If there's a lot of activities going on in your local environment, lots of things that you'd like to attend, maybe, schedule a timetable that you're going to be at certain places for so long and then move on to the next thing so that you don't miss those opportunities. And if you are seeking love, it's important to get out in your local environment, get part of the community, join in some of the weekend activities or join an organisation or a club. This way, then you've got more chances of meeting somebody that's a like-minded soul, somebody that shares the same aspirations that you do in life. And that usually makes a good foundation and a good basis for a relationship to start. We don't just want somebody just because they're drop dead gorgeous. There's got to be something more than their looks. There has to be something that makes the relationship grow, that we think the same way, we have similar interests, we like to do certain things, we respect each other's opinions. There's many, many layers that make up a good relationship. And I think all too often we get caught up in just the looks of how somebody looks, that we don't delve that little bit deeper and find out who this person really is and how they would fit into our orbit and how we would fit into their orbit. So that's the Gemini section. We're now going to move on to the Taurian part of the chart. Everything still seems to be very, very concentrated on an astrological level, and it has been for a long time now. And it's been difficult to sort of say that, things aren't sort of all bunched together, or there isn't such a concentration of energy, and there has been for such a long time. So with the Taurian energy at the moment, we've got the moon, the emotional planet, which only stays in a sign for about 2.5 days, is conjunct or holding hands what's known as the part of fortune. Now, the part of fortune's not where we're going to find that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's where we're looking for things that are going to make us feel fortunate in life. It's known as an Arabian part. It is not a planet, and it's sort of showing us the way forward in a sense. So if we look at the moon here, emotionally telling us that we can find our part of fortune, or what makes us feel a fortunate person, possibly inside of us, or looking at our emotions and looking at the situation around us. But the part of fortune is also conjunct Uranus, the planet of the unusual and the unexpected. Now, Uranus is like a bolt of lightning. It comes out of nowhere. It clears the decks. Every time I work with Uranus, or I'm working with Uranus with a client, I'm very clear to say, be very careful what you wish for, because you may just get it, and particularly if you verbalize things like, oh, I hate my job, and the next thing you know, you've been laid off. You've sent that message out to the universe. You've told them very clearly in an angry sort of tone, or a not happy tone, that you hate your job. So the universe thinks they're doing you a favor by removing it. What you need to say is, I'm really annoyed with my job today. I don't want to lose it, but I really, really, so-and-so is really making me very angry, and I've got to find a way to release that in a healthy Right. So with the Taurian energy, it's yes, it's Tauruses it affects Virgos, it affects Capricorns, and also the opposite side of Scorpio. So be aware there's emotional issues that are conjunct at the moment. It's trying to show you the way forward, but it's also saying to you things can come suddenly out of nowhere. And we know the Taurian energy is usually connected to what's mine's mine and what's yours is mine. And did I tell you it's mine? So, maybe the message here is not to hang on too tightly to things that you think that you deserve. Maybe you've got to put yourself in the other person's shoes and look at the whole picture, not just the picture from your side, from your very narrow vision of I deserve it all. That sometimes we've got to learn to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and look at, well, how might they be feeling? How might this be affecting them emotionally? What's their part of fortune? What are they seeking to gain out of life that would make their lives easier or make them sort of more settled or more calm? And look at it then, well, okay, it can happen suddenly. It's usually connected about something that, where is important to us, and usually that's money or possessions. So look at that from their point of view as well. Don't just get bogged down, this is mine, it's all mine, and I'm going to keep it all. Because if you do that and you become so steadfast with that, then Uranus here might sort of turn around and say, well, look, you've been a very, very greedy person. I'm going to level the playing score here, but not only am I going to level the playing field, I'm going to take some of what is rightfully yours and give it to the other person because you've been so greedy and you've been so dogmatic in the way that you're looking at things that you're not prepared to share, that I'm going to show you what it's like to be in their shoes for a little while and see how you feel when you walk that path. So be very careful because Uranus can work like that. Uranus can sort of really sort of turn around and say you need to be taught a lesson. And particularly when you've got karmic things here, like part of fortunes, it's saying to you you're not worth a fortune. And what is really important to you, and it's usually money and possessions, can be easily taken away from you, and that would create a very emotional turmoil or emotional time. So be very careful how you handle this, no matter what your star sign is, but particularly if you're one of those four signs, the message is really strong for you. We're going to wrap up the astrology section with Mars in Aries. Now, Mars is very comfortable in Aries because it rules Aries. And when I see Mars in Aries, I think of great excitement, great movement. Things are moving fast. We've all got enthusiasm. No matter what your sign is, there's enthusiastic days ahead. We can all get up off the couch. We can all make things happen. We've got a very short window of Mars being in Aries, so let's make hay while the sun shines. Let's get motivated. Let's get up and do those jobs we've been putting off and get our lives moving again. If you're looking to find a new job, regardless of what your star sign is, this is the perfect time because it's the time that you can shine. You can put your best foot forward. Your communication and your drive and your energy and your enthusiasm and interview will be really paramount, particularly if you believe that this role is yours. I'm a firm believer in power of positive thinking, and if you're going for a job and you already believe you've got that job, that you're the right person for that job, you go into an interview with that sort of, not an arrogance, but with a confidence that people pick up on, not just on a subliminal level, but they pick it up on an energetic level, and they sort of say, wow, I like this person. And then they read your resume and say, oh, well, he or she hasn't quite got what we're looking for. But gee, I love the enthusiasm. I love the energy. I think they're the right person for the job. So sometimes it's about energy that what gets us across the line. So we're going to take our first caller, which is Laura in Charlotte in North Carolina. Are you there, Laura?
I'm here.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Laura?
I specifically just wanted to know what you foresee in my career. I currently do have a job. I've been in it for almost 10 years, a little over,
Right.
and I'm feeling a little stagnant, but benefits and all of that keep me there. It's not really the most fulfilling job, and I've also been working on my spiritual abilities. So
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you about that as well.
Okay. All right. Look, sometimes when we're in a job that isn't quite satisfying as the way that we want to, Laura, we've got to look at, the things that you brought up, the benefits and, the opportunity of staying there, what that means to you and your family financially, not just today, but longer term wise. And sometimes that's enough of a factor to make us sort of stay there. I don't feel around the job situation that it's necessarily bad for you. If I felt it was bad for you, then I'd be giving different sort of advice. I feel that you've just hit a slump period in the job. You know, it's not exciting you anymore. It's not making you get out of bed and say, wow, I can't wait to go to work. And I think that's
Right.
something that can be worked that's something that can be worked through. When I say it can be worked through, it's not so much as look at the job in a resentful sort of way. Let's look at other areas of your life, like your spiritual side that you're talking about, that might be able to fill that void. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to work, I'm earning money, you know, I've got great benefits around the job, and turn that thinking around into, you know, this is the right job for me because it creates the lifestyle that I need. It gives me the security moving forward. And it also gives me enough time left in the day that I can pursue things that make my heart sing. I don't know too many people that get out of bed, Laura, every day on over a very long period of time and say, I really love my job. You know, I think those people are few and far between. But what makes us stay there is not just the benefits, but we've got other areas of our lives that are filling us up, that are making us feel whole. And when you start to
Right.
turn your attention to the spiritual side of life, that can be very, very fulfilling. It can also be very frustrating at the same time, too, because what do you believe? What's right? What's wrong? There's just so much information out there. And even more so now that we all have, you know, such ability to tap into information on the web and YouTubes and you name it,
Right.
and podcasts, and it goes on and on and on and on. What's right and what's wrong? I've always worked on this principle, Laura. I look at everything with an open mind and an open heart, and then I go with my gut. If it feels right and it resonates with me, then I take that bit on board. If I don't agree with it or my tummy feels uncomfortable, I dismiss it. I don't say that it's wrong, I just say it's not right for me. And if you work along those lines, you'll then absorb and take on board what you need to learn, or what is right for your personal soul. And I think that's the important thing, that, you know, we all tend to think we've all got to learn the same as everybody else. No, we don't. There's so much information out there and so many new things that are coming on board every week that not everything can be right for all of us. You know, we don't all get up and eat the same food for breakfast every day. We all have different choices or different desires or different tastes. Well, it's the same with spiritual work. You've got to look at it in that way. I know that you've got a very natural intuition. I know it's something that you've not so much fought with, but you've sort of pushed to one side as life's been busy and I haven't got time for that anymore. But in another sort of way, you've unconsciously worked with it and developed it to in a way that you can sum somebody up very quickly. You can meet somebody and you instantly know whether you like or dislike them, whether you can trust them or
Right.
you don't trust them. That's something that you can't teach somebody. That comes over time. So you've actually been working on your spiritual self for a very long time without even knowing it. And you've applied it to everyday living. And that's the way it should be applied. It's
Right.
like anything. We get better if we practice it. But it then becomes automatic that we don't even realize we're practicing it. It becomes part of who we are. I'd like to see you, and this is only a suggestion, I'd like to see you go into something on a deeper level with spirituality, whether that be sort of numerology, astrology, palmistry, something like that. I'd like to see you pick something that you're drawn to and then make that your study, make that your number one strength in it, if you want to put it that way. And it may not be that, it might be healing, but I felt that it was something more on an academic level. And that's why I said numerology, astrology, palmistry, something that's a science that I think is a good
Hmm.
place for you to start and sort of, and yes, it'll probably be frustrating too, but at the same time, you'll be learning something and you'll feel it feels grounded. Where some of the other things to you, yeah, they look fascinating, but it's like, oh, do I really believe that? Like I can remember when people started doing hot stone massage, some people thought it was great and other people thought it was so airy fairy. Why would you do that? And it sort of eventually then became more mainstream that people didn't look at it as you were a loopy because you went and practiced that or you went and had one. So you've got to look at what's right for you. And by doing that, Laura, you'll strengthen everything. And I think then, before you realise that 6 months has gone past in the job and you haven't really thought about whether you should change or not, you've just been going to work, coming home and going about your life because it's not the number one focus anymore because you've got something else that's, you're putting your positive energy into, and then the job just becomes the job in the background. I don't see you changing your job, but I do feel inside the next 12 months there will be an opportunity for you to sort of, they're calling it a promotion. I'm going to sort of say it's a sort of a strange sort of promotion because it's sort of, yes, there's more money and yes, there's different tasks, but it's almost the same. It's sort of very strange. It's like, to me, promotion should be exciting and give you some new things to get your teeth into, not be 90% the same of the job you were doing, with just a little sprinkle over the top. But look, if that's what they want to do and they want to reward you, who are we to argue? So that's where we're going to have to leave it, Laura. So I hope that's helped you. So we're going to talk with Amy now in Omar in Nebraska. Are you there, Amy?
I am. Hi. How are you?
Hi. Very well, thank you, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
I just would like to know for the upcoming year, are things going to get easier?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Look, I think there's a number of changes coming up around you, Amy, and I want to sort of say to you, don't be in too much of a hurry. It's like if something comes into your head today, let's use buying a new car, it comes into your head today and you think, yeah, wow, that's what I'm going to do. Doesn't mean that you don't go and have a look at them, that you don't go to the car yards and look at cars and work out the prices and everything like that, but you don't need to buy it today. You can sit on it for a month and see whether or not it really becomes strong, whether that's really what you need to do, or was it just some random thought that came into your mind. I'm picking up some changes around the house. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we've got to pack up and move, but are you making changes where you're living?
Some, yes. I'm establishing some stricter boundaries.
Right, good. But I think that's sort of where the major focus has got to be for now, is sort of getting that part of your life, your home sorted first, whether it's boundaries or whether it's buying a new couch or a combination of a lot of things. That's the starting point. That's where we need to start first. And then you need to sort of work your way up from that. It's interesting because they keep showing me that you're getting strong dreams, and yet I don't know that you're acknowledging them yet.
Okay.
Have you been, sometimes we can get dreams and we're not even aware of them, and then other times we can get them and we can recite it. Have you had some of those?
I have. I've had some really strong dreams.
Right. I want you to start writing those down, and I want you to write down how you felt at certain stages in the dream. There might be something in the dream that seems odd, like cats are pink with purple polka dots. Well, then write that down, because there'll be a meaning between the pink, the purple, and the polka dots. Do you know what I mean? And, whether you felt happy or sad or whatever the case may be, because there's answers in these dreams. They're not dreams that are saying to you, you've got to do A, B, C, D. They're saying to you, there's different messages hidden in the dream, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle. We've got to pull it apart and then work out how to put it back together again. I know in this next 12 months your life is going to change, and it's going to change for the better. It's not necessarily something we can say here now, well, this is what you're going to do in this month and that month and that month, and you've got to join the dots. It's got to be, as I come up on something, it's got to be fresh. It's got to be new. It's not to be something that I sit down and think about for 6 months before I make that change, unless it's something that keeps coming into my head. If it keeps coming up, then you've got to take it at the pace that it keeps coming up. But if it's something that, where we are today, we don't need to be worrying about what we're going to do at Christmas. Let's wait until we get a bit closer. Let's focus on the here and now. Did you change some area of your diet and lifestyle? Are you looking after yourself better, or you've changed your diet in some way? Because they're showing me more energy, Amy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, whatever you've done, keep
my diet a little bit, but more.
Yeah, they're saying to me, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because we're starting to see results. Your energy levels now are much more level than they were, and your thinking's becoming very clear. One thing I want to say to you is that you don't have to please everybody.
Yeah.
You're the number one person we've got to please, is you.
Right.
You've been too busy
running.
I know, I understand that, and I appreciate that, but it's time now to look at your needs come first. If we can put you first, even in simple things, then it'll become easy. It'll become easier that you say we're going to go and buy a couch. Yes, we need a couch. The family needs a couch. But you've got to look at how that affects you first. What colours do you like? What sort of comfort are you looking for? Is it going to fit in the room? Is it going to be whatever? Then we can consider everybody else's needs. But you've got to be the one to look at it first and say, well, this is exactly what we need and the reasons why. And apply that same principle to everything in life. I think you've allowed not so much people to walk all over the top of you, Amy, but you've allowed yourself to put everybody else first and you come at the end of the queue. I want to swap that around. I want you to be first. If you're not first and your needs aren't taken care of, then how can you possibly take care of anyone else? You can't.
Sure.
And it's a hard thing to do when you're such a giver, because it doesn't feel natural. It's going to feel really uncomfortable. So start with little things. Don't start with the biggest thing in your life. Start with little things, like if you like one brand of coffee and your husband likes another, well, it doesn't mean you both got to drink the same coffee. You buy yours and you buy his. You know what I mean? You don't sort of try and make it so that there's just one. Make your life easier in those sort of ways. Anyway, Amy, I hope that's helped you, but I know you've got a lot to go through in this next 12 months, but you're strong enough to do it, and you'll come out the other side a much stronger, almost unrecognisable person, but in a positive sort of way. And your family and your friends will really respect you for that. So that's where we're going to leave, Amy. We can all have lots of changes in our lives and not certain how to do things, but we do need to put ourselves first occasionally, because if we don't put ourselves first, then how can we help someone else? How can we improve their lives if our lives are in such tatters, or we're not honouring who we are? So this week I want to leave you with a very, very old song, but I think the words are absolutely amazing. And I think it sort of sums up how I feel about the world and how I think we should all feel about the world, and particularly when we start to look at putting ourselves first, and then we can share what's left over with the rest of the world and the people that are closest to us and the people that mean something to us. And don't forget our little mantra for this week. We're all going to go out and try and do something nice every single day for another person. So the song I'm going to leave you with is a beautiful old song by Louis Armstrong, and it's What a Wonderful World. And I think the words are still very, very appropriate for today. And it's a song that just washes over you and makes you feel very positive and very happy and very blessed to still be alive and breathing in this amazing world of ours. So What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong.